Sarah wasn't cheated on. She wasn't lied to. She wasn't abandoned. She lost him because of her own thoughts. It started with something small, a late reply. Just 3 hours. That's all it was. But in Sarah's mind, those 3 hours turned into a storm. Why hasn't he replied? Did I say something wrong? Is he talking to someone else? Is he slowly losing interest? Her chest tightened. Her heartbeat got louder. She opened his profile, checked his last scene. He was online 20 minutes ago. That was enough. Enough for her mind to build a story. A story where she was no longer enough. A story where he was already walking away. She typed a message. Deleted it. Typed again. Deleted again. Then finally sent. Are you ignoring me? He replied 15 minutes later. I was in a meeting. Is everything okay? But by then, everything was not okay. Because the damage wasn't in the relationship. It was in her imagination. And that was the beginning of the end. Sarah didn't lose him because he stopped loving her. She lost him because she kept fighting battles that didn't exist. And the scariest part? She didn't even realize she was pushing him away. Until he finally walked away for real. Sarah had always been a deeply sensitive person. She wasn't weak, and she certainly wasn't dramatic, but her mind had a habit of spinning small doubts into large storms. She felt everything intensely, and when she loved completely. But with love came a dangerous companion, overthinking. When Sarah met Daniel, everything felt safe at first. He was calm, patient, and endlessly reassuring. His voice had a soothing effect. His laughter could make her entire day brighter. She thought she had found someone who truly understood her, but her mind wasn't so easily convinced. Whenever Daniel took a few extra minutes to reply to her texts, Sarah's thoughts spiraled. Is he upset with me? Did I say something wrong? She asked herself over and over. Every delayed message, every small pause became a sign of rejection in her mind. When he sounded tired on the phone, her imagination would whisper, he's losing interest. When he went out with friends, she thought, he probably enjoys their company more than mine. Daniel tried his best to reassure her. You're overthinking, he would say gently. But to Sarah, it didn't feel like overthinking. It felt like vigilance. She believed that by anticipating every possible problem, she could protect herself from heartbreak. Slowly, small questions turned into constant interrogation. Who were you with? Why didn't you send a picture? Why didn't you call me when you got home? Daniel answered patiently at first, but eventually, his words began to sound defensive, as if he were being accused of something he hadn't done. The love they shared began to feel strained, not because of a lack of care, but because Sarah's mind turned everyday actions into imagined betrayals. She didn't realize that overthinking was slowly chipping away at the foundation of their relationship. What she thought was caution was slowly becoming self-sabotage. Even the most innocent gestures, Daniel taking a little extra time at work, laughing with friends, or being quiet on the phone, were twisted into signs that he was slipping away. And as Sarah's doubts grew louder, Daniel started to withdraw, not because he wanted to, but because he was exhausted from constantly proving his love against invisible accusations. By the time Sarah realized how much her thoughts were affecting him, the distance had already begun. Love, no matter how strong, struggles to survive in a space filled with endless suspicion. And in Sarah's mind, she wasn't overthinking. She was simply protecting herself, unaware that the real danger was coming from within. It all escalated one night. Daniel's phone battery had died, and for the first time, he didn't respond to Sarah's messages or calls. Just a simple technical issue, but Sarah's mind immediately filled the silence with chaos. Her thoughts raced faster than she could control. He's ignoring me. Maybe he's out with someone else. Perhaps he's losing interest. Maybe he doesn't love me anymore. Each imagined scenario grew taller, darker, more convincing. By the time she realized it, tears were already rolling down her cheeks. When Daniel finally called the next morning, apologetic and tired, Sarah didn't even listen. Instead, she let her storm of assumptions pour out. You don't care about me anymore. You've changed. I can feel it in the way you talk to me. Her voice trembled. A mixture of anger and fear, and her heart raced faster than ever. Daniel stayed silent. For the first time, he didn't argue. Didn't try to convince her that she was imagining things. He simply spoke slowly, as if choosing words carefully, so as not to escalate the tension. I love you, he said softly, but I feel like I'm always on trial. The weight of those words hit Sarah like a sudden wave. She hadn't realized that constant doubt and suspicion could exhaust someone who loved her. It wasn't betrayal that had worn Daniel down. It was the emotional burden of being accused in a war that didn't exist. For the next few days, the tension remained. Sarah's overthinking continued, and Daniel's patience began to fade. Their conversations became short, cautious. Laughter that once flowed freely was replaced by silence and gentle sighs. Every small argument felt magnified. Every pause in conversation became a battlefield. Finally, Daniel spoke the truth Sarah had been avoiding. I can't keep proving my love every day for something. That isn't real. He wasn't leaving because he stopped caring. He was leaving because he couldn't survive under the weight of imagined accusations. Sometimes love ends not because of betrayal, but because constant doubt quietly destroys it. And for Sarah, the tragedy wasn't that Daniel left. It was that she had created the circumstances for him to walk away, all within the confines of her own mind. Weeks passed. No calls, no messages, no good morning texts. The silence was deafening, louder than any of Sarah's fears had ever been. For days, she replayed every conversation, every moment, every tiny gesture. She realized something painfully clear. Daniel had never stopped loving her. He had never cheated, lied, or disrespected her. His heart had been hers all along. What had changed wasn't his feelings, it was her mind. Her overthinking had turned everyday actions into imagined betrayals, casual pauses into signs of rejection. Every small delay, every unanswered text, every sigh had become evidence of failure in her mind, and slowly, imperceptibly, it wore him down. The realization was almost unbearable. She hadn't lost him to another woman. She hadn't lost him because he stopped caring. She had lost him to assumptions, to fear, to endless what-ifs that existed only in her imagination. She remembered the nights she cried alone, imagining heartbreaks that had never happened. She remembered the words she had spoken in anger or fear, the accusations she had thrown at him without truth, the doubts she had voiced relentlessly. She had unknowingly created a cage around the love she wanted to protect. But within the pain, a lesson emerged. She understood that love cannot thrive in suspicion. Trust is more powerful than constant vigilance, and sometimes the enemy isn't outside, it's inside, quietly shaping reality with fear, doubt, and imagination. Sarah vowed to herself that she would change. She would no longer let her thoughts dictate her relationships. She would breathe, pause, and speak from understanding, not fear. She would learn to distinguish reality from the chaos of her own mind. And maybe one day she could love again, without fear, without overanalyzing, without letting imagined battles destroy something beautiful before it even has a chance to grow. Sometimes, the hardest battles we fight are not with others, but within ourselves. And sometimes, the only thing standing between us and happiness is our own mind.